Hello. This particular PowerPoint is perhaps one that you might think, why is she doing this? But I want to say that in the real world, you will have to give special occasion speeches. You'll have to give a lot of them. If you're in any sort of a public relations, leadership, um, forward facing, public facing job, you will have the opportunity to give these. And for that reason, I would like you to listen to this. I will keep it short because it's basic information. It's very common sense, but not so much because people tend to do it wrong, even though it's common sense. And the it's good information for you to have for when you have to do it. If you were in the traditional class, we would do special occasion speeches. So you get out of that with the online. The online has its problems and its assignments, but the face-to-face we do some of these kinds of things. So as far as the overview, notice the use of the overview in your PowerPoint. Understanding the purpose of special occasion speeches, the types, and then the language and delivery that we'll wrap up with that at the end. A special occasion speech is supposed to touch the emotional side of someone, of the audience. It's given in response to an occasion or an event. It falls into that category of entertain, amuse, and inspire. It's really not persuasive and it's really not informative. It is sometimes almost in the category of obligatory or pro forma, or in regular language, you just got to do it because it's what people do. It's traditional to say a few words in a certain way at certain events. It may involve a different manner of speaking, being more formal. A lot of times, special occasion speeches are read because of the formality of them and the information, and also the impromptu nature of them. And it should capture the audience attention while delivering a message. So there are 4 steps. Preparation. Even though they tend to be very personal or impromptu, that does not mean that you should appear unprepared. I think a good example is toasts. We've all been in situations like weddings where the person giving the toast is either tipsy or embarrassed or not too plugged in and has not prepared and gets up there and blah blahs all over the place. So just because it's impromptu doesn't mean that, or special occasion doesn't mean that you don't practice it and have some preparation. It's very important to adapt to the occasion and the audience because it's all about them. It's not about you. It's about recognizing people. It's about official capacities of your job, these kinds of things. So you don't want to get this wrong. And be mindful about the time. These sorts of speeches are expected to be brief and not to go on and on. So don't plan on a 10-minute special occasion speech. 2 minutes is more like it. So the various types of special occasion speeches, and I don't even have every single type here. I have the ones that would be most useful to you as a professional, either in communication or in a management job or in leadership, that kind of thing. The first is a speech of introduction. You do this if you are having, say, a big meeting, a big conference, and you have an outside speaker, someone with credentials or well-known in the field, and they've come to speak on the campus. In a couple of weeks, Bob Shaw is speaking on our campus. I'm glad I'm not the one introducing him. I don't know who he is. That would be quite a job to introduce Bob Shaw. And I've seen this done well. I've seen this done really, really badly. So it's an honor to be asked to introduce a keynote speaker like this. So you have to take it seriously. And there's no one right way to do it, but you're basically telling the audience why they should listen, why the speaker is qualified, if that's, obviously in Bob Shaw's case, you wouldn't have to tell him why he's qualified, but you would give some relevant background or biographical material. and give some sense of the forecast of the topic. Typically, with keynote speeches, they might say, our speaker today is well known for her da 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 da. And so they don't necessarily say the name until the end. Everybody knows who it is because it's in the program, but the introduction to the keynote sort of leads up to sort of, so please give your attention to Miss Mary Smith today as she speaks to us about blank. So, and then everybody can applaud as she comes to the lectern. So there's a way to sort of climax it. But you don't want to have any inside humor. You don't want to talk about personal things. You want to focus on their credentials and their background and their expertise, things they've written, things they've created, these kinds of topics. The speech of presentation is one you definitely will probably give. That's when you are giving an award. It's very common, and it's important to get it right. It should explain the nature of the award, explain why the recipient won it, mention if there were others who were up for the award, if possible. This is a little, if there are a lot of people and you don't want to embarrass them, you can just say there were 5 other people who were in running for this award. They all had wonderful credentials, and it was a very tough decision, da 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 da, that kind of thing. You may not want to mention their names, for, so that they're not pegged as losers, but you definitely want to say, if it's money, who's behind the money, that's important, and the reason for the recipients winning of this award, their accomplishments that made them achieve this honor. And of course, again, be mindful of time because these are supposed to be short. On the other hand, there's a speech of acceptance, and we've all seen award shows on TV, whether it's Grammys or Emmys or Oscars or whatever, where people made absolute fools of themselves. And some of these go down in history. A speech of acceptance is when someone is winning a major award. If you know you're up for an award, you should have a speech ready. I've never understood why these folks in Hollywood don't do that. They just say, oh, I'm so excited. I didn't think I'd win. Well, you're one of 5 people. There was, the odds are pretty good that you might win. So I've never understood that. This, again, should be short, and you should be thankful, be gracious, and be short. Those are the rules for these kinds of speeches. Thank those who are giving the award or funding it, or both. Acknowledge those who helped. There's an old saying that if you see a turtle on a fence post, he didn't get there by himself. So nobody gets where they are by themselves. I know that people got mad at President Obama because he said, you didn't build that yourself. And, what he was saying is that there was a system in place that helped you. He didn't mean that you didn't work hard. Okay, bad choice of words on his part. But it's true. Nobody gets where they are without help from someone. So if there's money involved, typically, sometimes this money is designed not for you to just do something for yourself, but to use it for some good purpose. So that's often an idea. We have a joke at our house. Eddie Murphy won an award. It was the Mark Twain Prize for Humor. And he said, well, I found out that there was no money involved in this, so this is the Mark Twain surprise. And I feel that way about a lot of awards. I got an award from the athletic department recently, and it was a surprise because there was no money involved. But I didn't expect that, so I'm teasing. Okay, then there's speeches of dedication. This might be at the opening of a building, a store, a franchise, a monument. You want to explain how you're connected to the building. Acknowledge those who designed, built, and funded it, and that should probably be the biggest part of your speech because there'll be a lot of people involved in that. And explain its value to the community and or the users. I'm thinking of, I'm looking across the hall at the Mashburn window across at the Mashburn Hall and thinking of that day. It was very, very hot that day. It was in August, and you can imagine. And but they had to, they were outside and they had to give the dedication speeches, and they all kept them short. But there were people from the building company and the architect and the contractors and the um, this university system, and there are a lot of people there that had to get up and speak and give speeches of dedication and say a few words. So you want to be sure that you mention the important people. And let me go back to this, that this is a public relations thing, and you do not want to mess it up and your boss come back to you and say you should have done XYZ in this speech. So be sure that you're prepared. Toasts. Toasts are kind of tricky. These are for praising or congratulating someone, usually a couple at their wedding. Again, these should be brief. They should be appropriate and sensitive and tasteful, and avoid the insider jokes that only one or two people are going to get. And again, we've seen bad movies or movies with bad examples of toasts where there was a lot of things said that didn't really need it. And then the speech is given to the people who are being toasted. You're speaking to them, not to the audience. Roasts are a whole different thing. This is, you've probably seen these on TV. I don't know that any of you will ever be involved in a roast, but the idea is to good-naturedly insult a person being honored. The person is respected in their field, but they will say a lot of, poke fun at them sometimes quite viciously, I've heard. And it's at a conclusion of a banquet in the person's honor. I hope in my life I'm never roasted, because I am afraid that it would hurt my feelings. The humor should not be hurtful, but sometimes you never know what's going to hurt people's feelings. And again, these should be humor that everybody can understand. A eulogy. I have given a eulogy at a funeral. I've written eulogies for other people to give or to read when I couldn't be there. And this, of course, is a speech given in honor of a deceased person, usually at a funeral or memorial service. This one is very important. You want to learn as much about the person as you can. You want to ask people. If you're asked to give a eulogy for your uncle who passed away, let's say, you don't know everything about your uncle you think you do. You need to talk to people. You need to talk to your relatives about your uncle. So that you have a bigger picture than just knowing him as an uncle, because other people know him as a brother or a son or a dad or a friend. So ask others for information, for stories, for tidbits of their life. You can use some humor, but it should be very gentle, very appropriate. Sort of, we all knew that Aunt Mary loved her soap operas. I could say that about my grandma. I mean, my mother. So, and that she would sometimes not answer the phone if her soap operas were on, or something like that, something gentle. And you might want to think there's the three parts of praising them, lamenting them in the sense that we miss this person, we miss their warmth, we miss their generosity, etc., and then console with thoughts. And of course, if you were a Christian or religious person, this would enter into that part as well. And so the eulogy is something I would personally let people look at the eulogy before you read it at a funeral, just so that you just get a second opinion. I'm a firm believer in second opinions. As most of you all know, I've written several novels, and I don't put them out there unless a lot of people have read them and given me feedback, because they might stink. So I want to put something out there that stinks. A speech of farewell is given when someone is moving to a new city or position. And again, this is ending on a high note, expressing your appreciation for them. Usually there might be a gift that's being given or something at a party. Commencement speeches. If you are asked to give a commencement speech, we all listen to plenty of them. I get to listen to 2 a year. Remember that it's about the graduates. it's not really about the audience that there. It's about the graduates. They are commencing their lives after college or after high school. So that's the idea. It's a new beginnings. So use a theme if there is one for the ceremony. Use personal life experiences. Be appropriately funny. And be brief. Nobody wants to hear a 20-minute commencement speech. 5 to 10 is plenty. Give them some wisdom, but don't be pedantic or pushy or bossy or know-it-all about it. And place the theme in the broader context of the students' lives. Every year we have a student give the commencement address at graduation in the spring, and in the fall a teacher does it, a teacher who won the teaching award. And the teachers often do keep it short because they know better. They know their colleagues don't want to listen to a long one either. And that would be hard. I've not won that award, so I probably will never give a commencement speech. But in the spring, we choose a student, and this year we'll have two because we will have a divided graduation. I didn't know if everybody knew that. And so we have to pick two, and we vet them and make sure that what they're saying and is appropriate for the whole audience and not just for their friends, because that often happens. They just want to talk to their friends. Okay, after dinner speeches, these are usually done by professional speakers. They're paid to come in and do these. And it's not a stand-up comedy routine. It's a real speech, but it's about 1/3 of it is humorous material usually. They'll tell funny stories. They'll make witticisms and quotations and things like that. They might use props and visual aids that can be helpful. So an after dinner speech is a serious speech, but it has humorous supporting material, and that's what it is. I doubt that any of you will be asked to do this unless you go on the professional speakers circuit. When you're giving a special occasion speech, you want to take more care to be very specific with the language. This goes back to you want to make sure you say what your boss wants you to say. And a good thing to do is use rhetorical techniques that engage repetition of phrases, such as parallelism. You can look that one up. But I was reading last night about the speech that Barack Obama gave when he won the New Hampshire primary in 2008, I believe. And they coined the "Yes, we can," or in the Spanish, the "Si se puede." And that became a real important phrase, and he used that a lot. He says, just like the pioneers, yes, we can, and he used that over and over again. It became very effective in that type of speech. So you also want to focus on basic evocative words that will pull out emotions in an audience. You don't want to use big 25-cent 4-syllable words when a good old American basic word will do. So that, keeping the language appropriate for the audience, which is probably going to be mixed group of people. So you don't want to just talk to the smartest people with PhDs. You want to talk to everyone. Words that everyone can relate to. And then as far as delivery, you'll probably have to use manuscript delivery because of the specific language choices and the situation and the timing. But you do want to practice for vocal variety, emphasis, pausing, length, eye contact, and if it's necessary, comedic timing. I want to end this with a sort of I don't know if I want to call it a persuasive point or a maybe just an encouragement. I recently joined a group called Toastmasters. I actually have a meeting tonight. I don't know how many people will be there since it's spring break, and Toastmasters is something I wanted to be in like 15 years ago, but it didn't work out. And so Mr. Dry got me involved in it, and I'm very thankful he did. And I'm a member, and it's really a reasonable price. And I'd like you all to think about looking into Toastmasters. They have various groups in the area. There's one that meets at Shaw. That's the one I go to. There's one that meets the same one it meets at the First Baptist Church in Dalton. It's not a religious group. They just meet at the church. And there's one that meets in Ringgold at Caffeine Addicts, and there are a lot in Chattanooga. And and there's some in Calhoun. And these are, you can just go online and find about them if you don't know anybody in them. But Toastmasters is for people who, adult learners who want to become better public speakers. And they also have other communication training. To me, it's an amazing adult learning experience. And that's, what I studied in graduate schools, adult learning. It's just amazing. And I'm looking forward to going through, getting my pathways and getting some training and different things, and perhaps competing. They have international competitions and local competitions, and I don't know if this point I can do that, or if I have anything to say, but Mr. Dry's doing it, and it's just a good experience. They give you a lot of good training. So I just kind of like to encourage you to look into Toastmasters as you graduate. And if you want to do some continuing ed credits, if your work encourages that, it's a good place to network with folks in the community and in other fields. And it is, like I said, it's not a religious group at all. It's a very large international group. It's been around a long time, and it's very, very well respected. So it's called Toastmasters. And it's not just about giving toasts, okay? So thank you.